Yes, it's pathetic that Michelle Wu is running for mayor unopposed, but that doesn't mean there isn't a powerful and growing opposition. Street Smarts with Jay Cashman is on the move. Our team has gotten tons of feedback from concerned citizens all over Boston and beyond. We're creating a movement. We knew there'd be interest, but we didn't know there'd be so much so quickly. We are self-funded, and we're about to spend some money. Street Smarts with Jay Cashman.
I'm never giving up. I'm never going away.
Join us at linktr.ee/streetsmartswithjay.
The Big Dig, okay, is an example that we were very involved in. We actually saved the project at the end when Mud and Continental broke. The surety company hired me to finish it. I went from having 900 employees one day to having 4,700 the next. That convinced the bonding company, rather than just sit there writing checks, let me come in and finish the project for them. It'll cost them less and it won't disrupt the city. It's something I'm an expert at. The biggest surety company in the world hired me to come in and this thing. We'll cut that out of the interview.
Every project begins with planning. Every major infrastructure project begins with a master plan, devised by the best in the business. Jay Cashman has said it repeatedly. The planning is often the biggest part of any infrastructure initiative, or should be, but was obviously not when it came to Boston's bike lane rollout.
Born in Quincy.
Oh, you're born in Old, did you? Yeah,
and then my great-grandfather built a home in 1924 right up the hill from where you once lived, above by the finished steam baths.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
But you left out the most important part of my resume. Small businessman on the South Shore, owning a truck repair garage that used to fix, I think it was an F600, F700 brown dump truck.
Yeah, sometimes there was 4 wheels in the back, and sometimes we actually had 3 of them that actually had air in them. One of the things we're really focused on right now is planning. And so when I heard that you accepted our invitation to come and talk, I said, oh, that's great. He's been involved in so many different projects and in his various roles in government and in private businesses that it'd be great to have to talk about that, because he knows that we have that old saying, proper planning prevents piss poor performance, right?
Yeah.
And the 3 Ps, that's one of the issues we have here with the bike lanes,
A great example of planning that Jay Cashman was directly involved with was the MBTA's Greenbush Line. The Greenbush Line serves the South Shore region of Massachusetts. The 27.6-mile line runs from downtown Boston south all the way to the Greenbush neighborhood in southern Scituate. It was a lofty project, and it returned commuter rail travel to Bay Staters who last enjoyed it way back during the Eisenhower administration.
The Greenbush Line, which is a mega project in of itself, was actually mitigation for even a bigger project.
Right.
And that's what kind of planning is about, is that how do we basically take care of all the stakeholders? And can we? Some people aren't going to get what they want. And there's lots of different ways that they have to get things through, different state levels of oversight, city levels of oversight, environmental oversight. In order to build a project today, you really have to be inclusive.
And I'm going to guess that you think there's not a lot of planning going into some of the bike lanes that are out there. And what an interesting segue from Greenbush to bikes is the project started to, and I was the state senator representing almost all the communities that the Greenbush Line went through. I had a piece of East Braintree at the time, Hingham, Scituate, Cohasset. And there was a gentleman in Scituate named Mark Fenton. Does that name ring a bell by chance?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So he was a professor at a college, and his expertise was in bicycle lanes and bicycle access. And he popped up and approached me, and he approached Scituate Board of Selectmen. He spoke at town meeting, and he convinced Scituate, and I think Cohasset then followed, to give some CPC money, community preservation money, for the concept of running a bike lane adjacent to the Greenbush Line when the project was being built. And, here we are talking about the need for bike lanes, right? Mm-hmm. And planning. And he couldn't get anywhere with the MBTA on that. They didn't want to listen to him. I saw his presentations as a cyclist. I thought this was awesome. I thought it'd be an economic development driver. A lot of bike trails have been good for the economy in different locations around the world and around the state. And you could have had a way to link Greenbush Station all the way to the Braintree T with a bike path adjacent to. Now, obviously, with some of the bridges and things, there was, some cost to this. But the state didn't want to listen to them. And now here we are over a decade later, jamming bike paths and bike lanes everywhere. So I think that was a missed opportunity as an advocate for sane bicycle access.
Yeah, that's a really good point,
Plus, it would have added some money onto your contract.
Well, I didn't want to mention that. That's what turns me on, is to basically build great things and to basically get double use of a right-of-way. That right-of-way, fortunately, was preserved over the last 50 years when the Greenbush line shut down. I was a young kid at the time, and I remember the old trains coming into Greenbush, and that was preserved because of the federal government, it was a law against tearing up any tracks, and it survived. So absolutely, and it'd be awful hard to do it now because a lot of that train went through swampy areas. Okay, and to have done it at that time, it wouldn't have been much of an impact. Now it'll be a lot more difficult to having that happen.
And I think we had a missed planning opportunity for bicycle access when they did Greenbush. Not in one day, but before you put a shovel in the ground, I walked that thing because I wanted to see what it was like. I mean, I was familiar with many of the areas.
I walked that 26 miles with my crew. In fact, when you went through Weymouth, coming out of Weymouth Landing, there was an area we had to kind of machete our way through. It was myself and about 10 of the guys in the company. We walked that whole line together. But one guy showed up and designed us sneakers and so forth and shorts, Bermuda shorts. And at the end of that trek, he was bleeding from the scratches from everything. But it was in fact they called it the Cashman Death March. Okay, we walked that alignment.
There was a thing called National Bike to Work Day, and they asked me to speak at it. So I said, well, if I'm speaking at it, I got to bike to work that day, So I biked in from Weymouth and was one of the speakers. And here's an anecdote for you. Joe Kennedy, the congressman, the father, not later Joe Jr. or the third or whatever he is, but Joe that used to live in Marshfield and Brighton. He's the keynote, right? Well, I come wheeling in, and there he is getting out of an SUV in a black suit on this warm day, and they hand him a bike, and they're hiding behind a building.
Yeah.
He puts a helmet on and comes wheeling around the building, probably, 50 yards. Oh, it was a great ride from Brighton. Yeah. And I'm dripping sweat coming in from Weymouth. And I mean, that was one of I think I had been in office at that point about 4.5 months. And I said, okay, so this is what, politics is about here.
Oh, yeah, it's a show.
And now it's almost like we've jumped the shark with the amount of, I would say, lanes that go in without proper planning. And it leaves me wondering, people that are involved in this decision-making process, have they ever been on a bike? I mean, some of them, even from a bicyclist standpoint, don't make sense. Never mind what it's doing to motorists, what it's doing from an urban planning standpoint. I mean, you can't turn Boston into total gridlock.
Or can you? Some of the most crucial streets in Boston are located in the oldest part of the city and were carved out of the land almost 400 years ago, making them a traffic nightmare on a daily basis. In drop the new bike lanes, cleaving off large portions of these tiny streets, and chaos has ensued.
My name is Dan McKenna. I've worked in guest services at the Omni Parker House for 47 years. If you're at the light, the intersection there, the left lane is you have to turn left. Middle lane, you go straight. Right lane, you can go right or left. And if you're in that middle lane and you're going straight, you figure you can just go straight, but you have to sort of swerve over into the left lane so the people in the right lane can swerve into your lane to go straight. And a lot of people don't realize that, so it's just endless horns and yelling and hand gestures. And even if everybody kind of knows their assignment and does it right, there's always trucks parked on the left lane there making deliveries. So basically it goes from 3 lanes to 1 lane pretty abruptly. The traffic's definitely worse. If I drive in town, I make sure I avoid Tremont Street at all costs if I can, because I just know it's gonna be backed up weekday, weekend, whenever.
As Jay Cashman says, it comes down to planning. Sometimes that can be as easy as talking to stakeholders like Dan McKenna, who's been observing these streets for 50 years. It's common sense. Jay knows it, Dan knows it. Go downtown and ask real people what they think should be done.
We have an opportunity here to go down and talk to those sort of guys, okay, and go and study the different intersections and different roads that aren't working. You know, that's the benefit of a bad start. Okay, when you start out and you do something wrong, it's a learning experience. People learn so much more from failure than success. Okay, it's so true.
The doorman example at the Parker House is a guy who could have provided a lot of input. Ray Flynn probably knew every inch of every street from jogging around town. I mean, think about it. He went from Southie to Doyle's, have a few pops, and run back to City Hall. Amazing.
Yeah, Menino was the same way. He was up at 6 o'clock going to every single event, every opening of a commercial, retail operation. He was at the announcement of all the SAT scores and all the different things that happened in the school system. When you want to do the job as a mayor, that's what the mayor is about.
You can't sit in an office and look at a map.
Yeah, and
you have to have some familiarity, institutional memory and knowledge of the streets that you're affecting. I think that's a must in something like this.
I know she goes out all the time, but it's really a thankless job. It's a job that is a 70 or 80 hour a week, and I'm not saying she's lazy by any means, okay, but she's not close to the people. She doesn't know the people. She gets briefed on things, and then they develop sound bites over it.
During the making of this episode, City Councilor Ed Flynn, who joined us in episode 1, broke some e-bike related news, releasing a statement to the Boston Herald. In it, Flynn proposed a ban on mopeds, scooters, and other e-bikes used to make third-party food deliveries. Many in the city feel like delivery drivers dangerously flout the rules of the road and have made the streets far more dangerous. More on that as it develops. From the outset, Jay Cashman resolved to talk to a diverse group of experts in the bike lane space, and he was joined by Anne Lusk, who's been advocating for safe bike facilities for decades and has herself used the power of planning to achieve big results. Like bike lanes themselves, conversations can go in many directions.
To do the outreach for even one block of a protected bike lane, it takes years and years of potluck suppers to get each resident on a street to agree to a protected bike lane. The better way to do it is to come up with a solution that works for everybody. And I've been doing bike facilities for 44 years. I started with the Stowe Recreation Path in Stowe, Vermont, and that went on to win countless awards. And
is that the one that runs in back of the Innsbruck Inn?
It's parallel to the mountain road and parallel to the river. So yes, it's that one. 5.3 miles. I got 32 deeds of easement.
We own that hotel there.
Yeah, I got 32 deeds of easements, even from the farmers. And then I have, I think, 10 bridges. And there are destinations all along the way. Even parents stop to see the cows. So it's lovely.
I think that's terrific, okay? But that's a far cry from, you point out that, I would basically take the big sidewalk issues, okay? This is a multi-layered problem. And multi-layered problems take multi-layered solutions.
Yes.
So that might be on a certain road. That might be one way to deal with it. But you start out with a planning process where you say, what are we trying to do? Who are we serving here? You need to basically figure out, how do you get through Copy Square? Okay, now because there isn't wide sidewalks going all the way down.
After I built the rec path, then I was asked by the Vermont Agency of Transportation staff to help write the design guidelines. And I would edit their guidelines, and they would tell me I didn't know what I was talking about. Mm-hmm. So I went back to school, and on scholarship, I got a PhD in architecture in environment and behavior, environmental psychology at the University of Michigan. And then I was at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, where I got an NIH grant to retrain myself in public health so I could learn research methods and conduct research about bicycle facilities preferred by all populations, how to build them, how to do community input, and how to get them successfully built. Mm-hmm. And since then...
I'm not so sure what you're trying to tell me is that, I recognize that you're a first-class,
This is all I do.
I understand. I acknowledge that. Do you acknowledge that I'm
No, you're phenomenal. That's why I'm here.
Well, listen.
Okay,
thank you.
I want to answer the question that I was asked next. Why aren't they safe? The reason the bike facilities are not safe now is because the drivers don't see the bicyclists, and it's not their fault. It's because the new vehicles that we have, the big SUVs, have wider pillars on the side, have higher belt lines on the side, have smaller windows in the back, and they have bigger headrests. So the drivers looking out the windows of their cars can't see the bicyclists.
Well, then these SUVs were there before the bike lanes were done. So
I'm saying
get your point.
I'm saying that it's not the driver's
the bike
fault.
lanes. I get a 2015 Range Rover.
Yeah.
Okay, and the reason why that I was going to get another one. First of all, I threw up at the price they were. They were $180,000 for the one I bought in 2015, and it got smaller. Okay, it got smaller. The price tripled, and $180,000. I'm not going to buy an SUV. Okay, but my point is, we've had big SUVs. Do you ever heard of the Hummer? Okay,
Yes.
That thing was big. That was the case. Then the Wu administration should have basically recognized that and say, guess what? We need to either change the size of those SUVs, okay, or build something that basically won't basically be affected by the fact that you've got SUVs that size.
The best solution then is to build a protected bike lane, the raised
I'm with
protected
you.
bike lane.
Absolutely.
So we're on the same page.
But the thing is,
on the same page.
yes.
Build a raised protected bike lane. The other reason the drivers are not at fault if they hit a bicyclist is because of the phenomenon they looked but failed to see. From evolution, all of us are looking out for the lions and tigers. What's going to get us? So a driver is not looking for a bicyclist, they're looking for another car. So even when they're scanning the intersection, they don't see a bike, they see a car. It's called look but fail to see, and in research in Finland, 11% of the car drivers saw the bike before they hit the bike, 68% of the bikers saw the car before it hit them. So the drivers don't see the bicyclists, so build protected bike lanes that are raised rather than level with the road. They're safer, and the bicyclist is separated, so we're on the same page. The other reason that why protected bike lanes are safer than biking in the road with the cars is because there are three kinds of bicyclists. There's a male, a female, and a senior. I'm not going to put children in the road. So in 1923, Walter Cannon identified the concept of fight or flight. But he only used male mice, and it was a female research assistant who questioned the male mice and said, were those male or female? And they put female mice in the same stressors. And the females didn't.
Listen. The guys have been doing a good job for 2,000 years. Now, if you're going to basically, I'm joking with you.
Okay. Anyway, fight or flight. Fight or flight is everything that we have based every principle on.
that.
Fight or flight, but it doesn't apply to females. The females do something different. They do tend and befriend because they can't fight or flee. So what they do is they form friendships. They form groups because as groups, they're stronger. So the females make friends and they have strength as a group. The females don't want to be aggressive. I'm agreeing with you on the bus bike lane. The females don't want to take a lane in a bus bike lane, and they don't want to have to go out in front of a car and take a lane. So this is science that backs up what you said. The females also bike 2 to 3 kilometers slower than men. They ride closer to each other, and they maintain a regular speed. Seniors have difficulty due to poor eyesight. Thanks. Just a minute.
I had cataract. I had my cataracts done. I'm fine. Okay, but I couldn't see before that. You're 100% right. Okay.
Seniors have difficulty biking.
My mother had terrific eyes.
Okay, seniors have biking due to poor eyesight, reduced muscle strength, and apprehension about falling. But the research that I recently did, if they bike, they lessen the symptoms of Alzheimer's because it's physical activity. So build protected bike lanes, build networks of them so they're predictable. They're one way on a street. A woman doesn't want to take a bus bike lane. She doesn't want to bike in front of the cars. She's not a male mouse. She's a female mouse.
I know it's been true in my life and my career. When I failed, I learned so much more. And I think that's the takeaway here. I could give Michelle the credit. Michelle, guess what? You failed at this thing, but I'm glad you did it. Okay. Well, I'm not glad you did it, but you know something, the fact that you did it, I think we can get some good out of this thing. Okay. We know what doesn't work, and we know, now we can start to really think about a planning process. I think I mentioned one time before, the planning of this bike lane system, it should be a budget in the order of 20 million or tens of millions of dollars to do the planning. Okay. And it's going to take several years to go do the planning. So, but that's a takeaway here is that, yeah, you know something, we got a lot of things that we had a big beta test here, okay, a giant beta test, 20 miles of bike lanes, 15 miles by Woe, okay, and now we can go and identify what is working and what isn't working. It's not the way that you actually do stuff. The better way to do it is to hire people on the front end of things. But since that's not where we are anymore, let's stop crying, okay, over spilt milk, and let's basically clean up the mess and fix it. And I agree with you about women and men, okay, believe me, my father treated the girls just as badly as he treated the boys. We're all the same. I saw what women can do. They can be just as viral, and they're smarter, and they're more cunning than men. My mother was my inspiration. My father, my mother's my inspiration. You know, the son of a told me when I told her I was going to be a millionaire, she said, "A millionaire? What do you mean a millionaire? You make 100 million." I don't think I had my first 10,000.
Male bicyclists who biked in the road with the cars. They were called vehicular bicyclists. John Forster was one of the advocates. And they wrote the first bike design guidelines in 1974. In 1974, they wrote a guideline and said, never build a protected bike lane. They never did any research. They sat around a table. They decided this is what works for us because we want to operate our bicycle as a car. They then cut and pasted that same text in all of the subsequent bike design guidelines without doing research and without finding out if that's what people wanted. Now, if you'd have heart attacks early on, they thought all the symptoms were the same for males and females. In the medical field, you keep doing research to find out, is it true? And the symptoms for males and females are different.
I know those guys in 74 were wrong because they had those long sideburns. I know they were never going to stay.
Okay. Well, anyway, they were convinced.
The things started to change. But you're right. That's how things get messed up. I agree, is that like someone declares something without really doing the real research.
So we never could build protected bike lanes in the United States, and ours was the first research in North America. We challenged it. We challenged the science. And now...
Should have hired me. I would have won. Seriously, yeah.
I was just happy to get that published. You have to do your homework in advance, but you also have to have a basic, clear concept, like the Big Dig, like the Stowe Recreation Path, that you can communicate easily. I'm proposing that for the Boston area, we do pilots. We test putting in a raised protected bike lane that is level with the sidewalk. Trees, not in little bitty tree pits, meaning they're going to die right away, but in silva cells, in structural soil that have trenches that allow the tree roots to talk to each other, and then a level sidewalk. This saves parallel parking spaces on the street. It saves lanes in the roads, and we end up with a shaded, climate-responsive city because all of our wide sidewalks don't have trees, or they have trees that die, and we have heat sink. And we have mobile source air pollution from the road, from all of the cars that don't have electric vehicles because there's nowhere to charge cars. And the final crazy thing I did in Brookline, I bought a parking lot. You've done massive things. I bought a parking lot that can park 4 cars because I own a little 1820 workman's cottage, and I'm a very, very good carpenter, and I've done all the restoration on it, and I've already won awards. The issue for needing to have innovators help in this design.
The thing is, in my opinion, you have to be able to create something that the car can't jump over and get.
Well, the car can't. The car now doesn't jump over the sidewalk. Because it hurts their tires.
Not in all cases, okay.
Okay.
But
they don't really jump the sidewalk to hit the pedestrians. We know that for a fact because it hurts your tires.
It generally doesn't happen.
If you have a Hummer, no. Okay, if you have my car, yes.
You might be right. I'm not sure. I have the official feeling is that if you're gonna basically have a barrier, you should have something that a car can't penetrate. Okay, like why do they have the concrete blocks that they move in and out of I-93? Coming into Boston. why are they this high and why are they this big,
And
why are they interconnected?
that would mean that we would have to put Jersey barriers against every single sidewalk.
No, I'm not saying you.
Otherwise, all the cars would
That's what
drive
I
up
said.
on the
I didn't
sidewalk.
want. I just said, why do you suppose they have that tall of a structure?
barrier.
A barrier, okay?
Because the cars are
why
going
is heavier?
80 miles an hour.
Well, they're supposed to be only going 55, okay, or 60.
They're going 25 in a city where you have a raised protected bike lane and a
I
tree and a
understand. Well,
sidewalk.
no, they go 50, okay, on Commonwealth Avenue, okay? I know 'cause sometimes I do 50, I'm trying to make it light, and I don't see any pedestrians, okay? And I'm not the only
You're
one.
saying that.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to lie.
You have to have street lights, not Cobra heads, that go out over the street that provide lighting to car drivers who already have headlights, but low street lights that provide light to the people on the sidewalk and light to the bicyclist. So the light on the face of the bicyclist is so flattering to the bicyclist that they look younger and more attractive than they actually are. All the bicyclists look like all the wealthy people in the really expensive restaurant where the candlelight is so soft that they look pretty and handsome. That's what you do on this.
Look at that.
How do we get you to look at this?
I can't get my head wrapped around that until you can make it a proper plan.
Anne Lusk not only brought interesting and colorful theories, she came with studies, research, and conclusions.
We compared biking in a road that had a protected bike lane versus biking in a road that had no protected bike lane. The protected bike lane had a 28% lower injury rate. That was based on ambulance data. And there were 2.5 times as many bicyclists in the protected bike lane compared to biking in the road with no bike infrastructure.
surprise me at
11%
all.
lower injury rate, 2.5 times as many bicyclists in that protected bike lane compared to biking in the road. Again, I'm saying everything that you've been saying.
Yes,
with
absolutely.
Data,
Yes.
with data from the PhD. In 2019, we conducted research in Roxbury, Mattapan, and Dorchester and asked which of 6 bicycle infrastructure designs had less risk of crime and crash with vehicles. The bike designs included a road, a painted sharrow, that's a double chevron and a bicycle symbol in the road, a shared use path, that's like a stow recreation path, a one-way protected bike lane, and a two-way protected bike lane. And the people we asked included community sense individuals. These are church members, these are YMCA resident members also. We also asked gang members, homeless shelter residents, and halfway house residents because they knew crime. And maybe the church members and the YMCA members would be less aware of crime. So we went to the populations that knew crime. The one and the two-way protected bike lane was preferred due to lower risk of crime and lower risk of crashing with vehicles. That was in Roxbury, Mattapan, and Dorchester. They wanted the one or two-way protected bike lane when they were shown all the designs. So we have the research that backs up exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, but well,
I'm on board.
what's that?
I said, I'm on board.
In the city of Boston, it's really hard. The plan is obviously just to make it impossible to get around. They say it's environmentally efficient and positive to have people riding on bikes versus burning fuel, idling all the time, and you're burning more fuel than you're saving on the bikes. It doesn't make any sense. I suppose eventually, if we eliminate cars coming into the city, then I suppose we'll get rid of a lot of pollution.
Well, I think that's the goal of certain planners that are out there.
There is no doubt that that is the goal of certain planners who are out there, including some at City Hall and very possibly the mayor herself. But you can't fight City Hall, right?
So Michelle she's already established the way she wants to do things, okay? And she's going to blow this thing out, okay? And guess what? The only thing that's kind of stopping her is a few things. Me is one of them, okay? Who's willing to spend my own money out of my own pocket to go out there and get the word out, okay? Yeah. No. Listen. No, let me finish, okay? I'm not going to basically throw in with Michelle Wu. I'm never giving up. I'm never going away. Okay. I basically I'm picking up the mantle of this. She doesn't even understand the people. She doesn't, and she's not connected to them. I'm connected to contractors. I'm connected to people. I know what it is to be behind a wheelbarrow. I know what it is to dig a ditch. I know what it is to pour concrete. I know all those sort of things. I know what an engineer wants. I know the people that I manage. She has no idea who they are. She doesn't know them like she knows the habits of a concert pianist, okay, or a progressive thinker, okay. I don't know if building a $250 million stadium, okay, for high school is the right move, because I'm not an expert at that, okay. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I'm not an expert at it. But what I am an expert at is infrastructure, and guess what? This is completely okay. Okay,
I can't use that vocabulary word.
All right, I'm
but
sorry.
I do agree.
Well, maybe-
I can't.
I
You can drive a Hummer and you can use a vocabulary word, and I
My
can't.
father was a contractor. My mother's father was a contractor. My uncle was a contractor. I'm like a cousin Vinny. We're all contractors. That's the way that we talk.
On the next Street Smarts, business owners request and sometimes beg the city for relief from the new bike lanes, but get the swerve. And it appears that City Hall is where transparency goes to die.